Earth intercepts nearly 2,000 million kilowatts of power from the sun. 20,000 times more energy than we humans can harness in our machines, factories, offices and homes. If the world's desert areas alone were covered with solar panels, we could still capture 50 times more energy than the whole world presently uses. In the last two editions of Beyond 2000, we've seen that neither fossil fuels nor nuclear power are likely to provide the bulk of the world's energy in the next century. Will it be the energy from the sun which solves the problem? After all, it'll never run out, or at least not for another 1,000 million years. And because we wouldn't be adding chemicals to our biosphere, we wouldn't be threatening life, or so the theory goes. Needless to say, things aren't quite so simple. The first problem is that solar energy is diffuse, when what we need to run everything from cars to kettles is concentrated energy. It's easy to convert the concentrated energy of this boiling water into diffuse energy by turning this cold water into lukewarm water. But it's a lot more difficult to convert diffuse energy back into concentrated energy. In other words, to convert diffuse solar power back into concentrated electricity. It's possible, but the machines to do it are complex, inefficient and expensive. The French use mirrors, computer-controlled heliostats which track the sun and reflect the heat onto a cyclops-like furnace. Until it was closed down, the Themis plant was more than 20% efficient. But even though it was in the sunniest part of France, the plant managed to generate an average of just 342 kilowatts of power. That's as much energy as used by 19 families. Overall, the so-called free energy from the sun cost 20 times more than the energy from conventional sources. Even silicon solar cells offer little hope. In theory, they can only convert a quarter of the sun's energy to electricity. In practice, they're even less efficient. To generate the same amount of electricity as even a modest nuclear power station would take 8 million square metres of solar panels. And a quick calculation on my amorphous silicon-celled solar calculator here says that that means that we would require an expanse of panels the size of 1,000 football fields. And even then, the sun would have to shine 24 hours a day. But not all of the sun's energy goes straight to heat. 0.3% of it drives the planet's winds, waves, and ocean currents. It's a vast amount of energy just waiting to be tapped. But at Medicine Bow in Wyoming, two of the largest wind turbines in the world now stand idle. They cost too much to build, and now that they've broken down, they'll cost too much to repair, at least for the time being. On more modest scales, and in remote, windy places, wind power still offers hope. But it's unlikely ever to become the energy source for the whole world.
It's very difficult to see whether wind energy and some of the other renewables could ever pay back the energy investment made in them in the first place. If you've got a really windy spot, might just be economic, but I hardly think it's likely.
Wave power looks promising, but once again, the diffuse nature of renewable energy becomes daunting. To power its population, the United States alone would need wave generators stretching for 7,000 kilometres or 4,500 miles. Even power from the centre of the Earth or from the moon's gravity offer little hope, because only a handful of places on Earth are suitable for tapping either tidal or geothermal energy.
The city of the future is going to have to be a remarkably flexible kind of community if it's going to be powered by renewable sources of energy. We've got rather used to the idea of turning on a tap or turning on a switch to gain the energy that we require.
The solution is to store the energy until we need it. Giant superconducting rings might one day store electricity indefinitely, but the technology's a long way off. Until then, we'll have to make do with using nature's way of storing energy. A quarter of the sun's power goes into lifting water from the oceans and dropping it onto the land. But the best sites for tapping this hydropower are limited. 3/4 of the suitable rivers in the USA and Europe have already been dammed, and many of the other sites must be protected for environmental reasons. Though the fuel for hydropower will last virtually forever, the dams and rivers won't. Most will silt up within 100 years, while some, like Egypt's Aswan Dam, have just a couple of decades of life left in them. While power from water has been tapped for over 3,000 years, animal power, and more directly power from plants, has been used for more than 5,000 years. Though it may be inefficient, wood is an easy way to capture the sun's energy, but only if the wood is cut down at the same rate that it can grow. Slash and burn it quicker than it can regrow, and we risk losing the topsoil, and then the forests themselves, forever. Over large areas of the globe, wood is becoming the first major energy source to run out. To help out, some communities are turning to methane-producing biofuels to extract every possible ounce of energy from plants and animals. But a more efficient way of harnessing the sun's energy is to grow energy-capturing plants like sugarcane. By fermenting its sugar crop to alcohol, Brazil, with its ideal climate, can produce enough fuel to power 20% of its cars. But it's not all good news. Alcohol manufacture produces large quantities of acidic waste, and the land used to grow sugar could otherwise have been used to grow food. Energy from the sun, whether we capture it directly or from plants, wind or rain, is surprisingly expensive. But as time goes by, we will find more and more uses for it, particularly in remote areas. What we're not likely to see is the whole world relying on renewable energy. That dream of a solar-powered society still eludes us. And so the main source of the world's energy for the next century must lie elsewhere. Space-based solar satellites beaming energy down to the ground, and fusion reactors harnessing the power of mini-suns. Is it fantasy or fact? That's in the next edition of Beyond 2000.
And in the same show, we go into battle. Simon Reeve looks at the use of lasers in war. And Ian lets his fingers do the walking when he travels the world using a multilingual phone. Could a phone replace the translators of the world? Find out on the next edition of Beyond 2000, and I'll see you then.
You've always wanted to travel to some of the world's most beautiful and exotic places for free, then join the team from Escape, our brand new series coming up next. Tomorrow at 7:30, Nick's dad's got away with the kids in Family Ties. Then at 8 o'clock, Simon decides to leave his job in Hey Dad. It's great viewing tomorrow from 7:30 here on 7 Melbourne.
Beyond 2000 was proudly brought to you by today's AMP, Australians sharing Australia.
Thursday, will Ronnie Barker start a prison riot?
Something's brewing.
Oh, good. 2 sugars.
Now a double helping of porridge. 9:30, Thursday.
Good evening. Convicted murderer Alex Marcus remains in a critical condition tonight after being bashed by another prisoner at Pentridge. Police tonight revealed that Marcus was stabbed several times as well as being bashed around the head during today's attack. Police in Canberra are questioning a woman after a siege this afternoon at the Australian Institute of Sport. About 5 shots were fired during the drama, which ended when the woman, who had been holding a sports psychologist hostage at gunpoint, gave herself up. Police say the woman, an amateur shooter, was distraught over a neck injury she had received some time ago. More news with Clive at 10:30.
Gold medal chance here. You've got 10 metres to
Do not adjust your set. However, maybe you should replace it. Here's how you can see the Olympics like never before. Australia's champion TV, NEC, is making this champion offer. Buy any colour TV from the NEC range before September 17, and if you're not totally happy with the high performance, we'll give you your money back. See your local NEC retailer now about this champion offer.
John Candy is about to face the most devastating experience known.